Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, Andrew Bartolotta.
Welcome back to the cityCURRENT Show, where we bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community and around the globe. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, and joining us today is Kim Halyak, the visionary founder of Experience Memphis Gardens. It's a unique event that showcases the city's green spaces across almost a month in 26 different neighborhoods, from the intimate urban retreats to the sprawling country gardens. We'll explore how these garden spaces are not just beautifying Memphis, but also fostering community spirit now in its second year. So let's unearth the story behind this blossoming movement. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's first start off with what inspired the inception of Experience Memphis Gardens.
About 20 years ago, I went to the largest garden walk in the US, which is in Buffalo, New York. Now, mind you, I've gone to garden walks before, and you go and you look at beautiful gardens, and I never gave it much thought beyond just going and enjoying the day. But when I went to Buffalo, I really had this aha moment where, oh my gosh, this is how you turn a city around, because I realized they had so many gardens on tour and thousands of people were coming to Buffalo to look at the gardens. And I realized that gardens are more than just us decorating our outdoor spaces. It's really about changing the flavor of a street and a community. Because if you suddenly have everybody beautifying, now gardening has the power to really make a difference in a city. And until that point, I really had never thought of it that way.
Well, I think that's a unique way of looking also at how you can learn from other cities to then come in and say, how can I make this an impact, and how can I provide this opportunity to my neighbors? And so you helped form the Cooper Young Garden Walk. Talk about how that then transforms into this huge, ginormous celebration with Experience Memphis Gardens.
Right. So 9 years ago, our garden club put on the Cooper Young Garden Walk with the 23 gardens. We were really getting our feet wet. I had been to Buffalo. I saw what they could do, but you have to start small. So we started with 23 gardens. We wanted to raise money to beautify our neighborhood. And now, 9 years later, we have 100 gardens in Cooper Young. And then last year we decided, we had other neighborhoods saying, oh my gosh, we would love to do this, but we don't have the people, we don't have the idea. And so we decided to take it citywide. So we expanded the name to encompass Experience Memphis Gardens. And Andrew, you're not going to believe this, but my vision was just Shelby County. But this year, Fayette County asked us if they could be on our tour. So we actually have 13 farms in Fayette County that are also on our tour. And so now we're calling it the Greater Memphis Garden Walk, because it's called Experience Memphis, but it really takes over this whole area. So it's pretty exciting. And right now, by my last count, we're up to 250 gardens this year.
Wow. That is something to be proud of, because I remember speaking with you last year and just the hope and the potential that it has. You saw a vision and you ran for it. And now to say that you have, 250 gardens in the greater Memphis area is such a huge accomplishment. And what's so cool about these gardens is that they're not all just your standard flower gardens. You really have the breadth of creativity, from aquatic to farming to you name it. So talk a little bit about the process of selecting gardens for the event, and then some of your favorites, or really the breadth of some that you can go and see.
So I want to start off by saying we do not vet any garden. So when I put out the invite to the Greater Memphis area to put their gardens on the tour, we don't come along with a little checklist that says, oh no, your garden is not good enough. We have the same philosophy as Buffalo does. They don't vet their gardens either. So whether you're a beginner gardener, a master gardener, professionally landscaped, if you're proud of your garden, we want you to put it on. And here's what we know. We know that if you're a beginner gardener and you put your garden on, every year you're going to up your game. You're going to learn things. And for people who are visiting the gardens, if you're a new gardener and you see another new garden, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. But if they were all just magazine quality gardens, people would say, oh, that's nice, and then they'd walk away and say, well, my garden will never look like that. So I want people to feel comfortable knowing that if you love your garden space, other people will too. Um, and then some of the gardens on the tour, oh my gosh, every year it just keeps growing. And I'm always astounded by the new things that I see. So like I said, we have some farms this year. We'll have chickens and goats, and one farm even has tortoises. But what really intrigued me, uh, a couple of the gardens have canning kitchens. And I'm like, what is a canning kitchen? Well, if you don't want to mess up your own personal kitchen, canning food and making honey, put a special garden, a special kitchen out in your garden so you don't have to mess up your house. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. Um, so we're going to have community gardens, school gardens. Hutchison Garden will be on the tour this year. We're going to have the Ounce of Hope tour, aquaponics, like you said, just a lot of different things. And everything from the quirky, which is predominantly Cooper Young, to some really grand estates. So it's really fun. I'm excited.
I'm so excited too, because just remembering the energy from last year and inaugural year to now, now knowing what year two is going to look like is so fascinating and fun, and to be a part of that. Talk about logistics for those that are listening here in Memphis or in Nashville or, regionally. Okay, so how do I purchase tickets? What does the logistics look like? What am I allowed to see? What is sort of upcoming on the tour?
Okay. So the way to get your ticket is to go to experiencememphisgardens.org, and you can buy your ticket on the website. And what we're doing this year is you can actually designate one of 10 organizations that we have listed on our ticket. The tickets are $26 for 26 days, which is basically $1 a day to see 250 gardens. But if you'd like, if one of those organizations is meaningful to you, choose that organization and they will get $10 of the ticket donated to them. Um, and then let's see, what was logistics is each day is a different neighborhood. So we start off May 18th and 19th in Cooper Young, and we will have the Backbeat shuttle bus. So if the idea of walking to 100 gardens is a little overwhelming, the shuttle bus will take you through the neighborhood. Now, I confess, it's not going to drop you off at every house, but it will drop you off at every quadrant. Or you can get in your car and drive from house to house. Um, the other neighborhoods, it is go to whatever house in whatever order you want. Um, we will have lanyards this year that everybody can wear, and that way you can, instead of wearing a wristband for 26 days, you'll have a lanyard. And I do want to point out that things change. A tree may fall down in somebody's house and we may have to take them off at the last minute. So every day I tell people, look at the little QR code on your lanyard and check to be sure there have been no changes that day. So you're not driving out to a garden and finding out it's not opened or something, you know.
Yeah, great advice there. And it's so cool that it really is come and go over this 26 days, and you can see what you want or what interests you.
Exactly.
Love that idea. Are there any unique or unexpected gardens that you'd like to shout out for this year? Again, as we talk about what we can experience across this Greater Memphis garden tour.
Um, I I think that they're all amazing, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen all the new gardens that are on the tour. It's going to be as much of a surprise to me as it is to the visitors at home. They will see art vendors and educational booths. Some of the neighborhoods will have food trucks. And what I love is every neighborhood has their own flavor. So Hind Park and Evergreen, this will be their second year on the tour, and they are so excited. And something that's really important about garden walks, it builds community, because the people who were on the tour last year in those two neighborhoods, what they've said to me is, wow, I've gotten to know my neighbors in a way that I never have before. And I think that's the best thing of all, is you get on the walk, you meet your other neighbors, you find out who else gardens in your little neighborhood, you share plants. And some of those neighborhoods are actually meeting monthly to plan for this. I mean, it's become this big thing that they're starting in their neighborhood. And that's really what we want. We want every neighborhood to have its own flavor and to come up with the creative ideas that they want. And I thought of something else I'm excited about. So we have Fox Meadows and Hickory Hill will be on the tour Saturday, June 15th, I believe, but don't hold me to the date. And we're going to do some pop-up garden beautification ideas. So we had about 10 gardeners who are putting their gardens on the tour, but there were some other yards that were, kind of mundane. So we decided, wouldn't it be fun, kind of like if we came in and did some instant beautification and really showed people like what happens when everybody gets together and we do this unified look. So we actually won a $5,000 grant from Community Lift, and we are using that money to kind of do like an instant makeover of what is a nice neighborhood, but we kind of want to power it up and show people what we can do with a little bit of money and effort. And we hope that as people visit that neighborhood, they go, oh my gosh, we could do that too in our neighborhood.
Talk about the importance and any stats you have around why and how this garden tourism can really make a huge impact, not only for public safety, but
Mhm.
for the uplifting of our community.
For people who are not really into gardening, it might surprise them, but garden tourism is growing 7% annually. And that's all across the United States. You know, when you think about England, we think of gardens when we think about England. And America is really catching on to that now. People have really fallen in love with their back spaces, their backyards. They've gotten into growing food. They've gotten into really beautifying, being sustainable. And so that number is only going to continue. And people are willing to travel to go see beautiful spaces. They want to see ideas. We actually had a garden blogger from Pennsylvania come all the way down last year to tour our gardens, and she absolutely loved them. I know we'll get a bunch of people from Nashville every year. I've gotten some wonderful testimonies. So I think that people don't realize that everybody wants to live in a beautiful space. And if you have the opportunity to get some ideas and you go home and you go, oh my gosh, I could do that, or I never thought of that. Um, and to show you how important garden tourism is, next year, we are bringing 100 garden communicators. It's a national group called the Garden Fling. And every year they go to a different city around the United States to look at about 20 exquisite gardens. And so we are really honored that we were asked to bring them to Memphis next year, the first weekend in June. So if any of your listeners out there have a phenomenal garden, I would love to know, because we're looking for those very special gardens. We want to wow their socks off. So they go back to their cities and back to Canada and they write about the gardens of Memphis. And let's bring the garden tourism to Memphis like it is in Buffalo and Seattle and Vancouver and Pittsburgh. Let's bring it to the South. And I call our garden walk the largest in the South. I have not found any other garden walk as big as ours, and I'm claiming that. And it's only going to get bigger.
Can you highlight any partnerships or collaborations that have been essential to the success of Experience Memphis Gardens?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. And if I leave anybody off, don't anybody's feelings be hurt. But one that I want to really tout is Give Camp Memphis. That is such a wonderful organization. They provide tech help for us. It has just been amazing. Another thing that I want to say is we take the money that we earn from our organization. This year, we set aside $10,000. And every neighborhood that was on the tour last year, they can apply for a beautification grant until the money runs out. So we've already gotten grants from Idlewild, Central Gardens, Becca, um, downtown, asking for some of the money to do beautification projects. And we're excited because our goal is, as they create their own beautification projects, that's just only going to grow the beauty across the city. They have ownership of it. We give them the seed money, and it just builds upon itself. And so every year that we do the walk, we take the profits that we earn, and we want to pour more and more back into every community, and just really make this a self-sufficient kind of a thing where we just keep growing the beauty in that.
Yeah, and I love that, it is called seed money, which is very applicable to the work that you are doing.
Exactly. Yes.
What puts a
Yes.
smile on your face when you look at the work that you've been able to do, over a decade now, especially with Experience Memphis Gardens, and just knowing that you are building a legacy where it is an impactful part of garden tourism in the Mid-South now, and is helping create special moments for communities to get to know each other, to beautify, and really a movement towards environmental consciousness as well.
I think what puts a smile on my face is knowing that we have 250 families, because some families have two in their household, but 250 garden hosts have signed up for the walk. They're putting so much work into their own yard. Uh, it just pleases me so much. And then to hear them say, oh my gosh, Kim, wait till you see what I've done in my yard this year. Or last year they only showed their front yard, and this year they're already planning what they're going to do in the back. I mean, all that creativity and that excitement. And then of course all the volunteers who are involved in this. This is just not me. This is the Cooper Young Garden Club, and it is the Experience Memphis Garden committee members and volunteers. I mean, we couldn't do it without volunteers, and none of us get paid for this. This is all a labor of love. So I hope that as people come out to the walk, if there are little hiccups in the way, I hope they understand that we're all volunteers and we're doing it because we want to see our city beautiful.
Well said. Where can people go to purchase tickets for Experience Memphis Gardens, learn more about the 250 garden hosts, and get themselves out in our community this summer?
Well, go to experiencememphisgardens.org. We are currently working on the map. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of checking back and forth because it's a lot of details. And so people should check out our website and they can read more about all the gardens.
Well, Kim Halyak, thank you so much for coming on the cityCURRENT show. To our listeners, we encourage you to step outside, explore the lush landscapes that our city has to offer across the greater Memphis area, and maybe be inspired to dig a little dirt yourself. Thank you so much for coming on the show, empowering the good in our community and around the globe, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you on the walk.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it.